Hi, welcome back, or welcome if you're new here. Today's tutorial is going to be about the future Cruella makeup and making the costume. Let's get into it. And make sure to stay to the end of this video to see how I made the background if you're curious. I first started with my lightest foundation, which was a Lancome foundation, and just buffed that into my skin. This look actually requires very few products, which is super nice. I also brought this down my chest and neck, of course. Now onto the fun part, the future lettering. So I thought about doing this in a few different ways, and I ended up just printing out a picture of Emma Stone with this makeup on her face and then cutting out all of the individual letters. And now I am taping those to my face. I decided to go this route for a few reasons. The first being getting the spacing right. You know, when you start writing on a piece of paper and you just can't get it centered, I thought this might happen to my face. And second, you would need to write the letters backwards if you were freehanding this. So I wanted to put these on my face as a rough stencil. Once that is on, I took a black eyeliner and just started to trace. Ideally, you're using two hands here so that you can press down the paper to your face and then outline it with the other hand. I found this to be a little bit tricky when I was trying to film and use the mirror, but when I had two hands, it was perfectly easy. I actually go off camera a little bit here because I decided to use two hands, but I just finished outlining everything. Now when you take it off, you'll have little marks from where the tape were that you couldn't outline, which is perfectly fine. You can just go in and fill in those little details after. I just adored this movie, and there are so many creative costumes and makeup that you can use for a unique version of Cruella, but I loved the letters on the face because I hadn't ever really seen that in other makeup looks before, so I thought it would be a fun challenge. It's a very striking and bold look, so I think it is a perfect option if you're going to a party and you want to make a statement. Now I'm going in with my Mehron Makeup water-based paint in black. I used paint brushes from the craft store for this, and I didn't worry too much about the quantity of water. I really just dipped the paintbrush in my cup and then swirled it around in the paint, and that was enough. I find when you're working with colored paint, it can be a little bit more important to strike the right balance of the water so that you're getting the right opacity and level of streakiness, but with the black, it really just covered everything up from the get-go, so it wasn't a problem. I used two different sized paintbrushes. I first used this flat edge brush to apply most of the color, and then I went in with a smaller brush to get up closer to the letter edges. You'll want to cover your entire eyelids with the black paint and also tightline around the bottom of your eyelids as well. If you're going to be wearing this all night, I would recommend going in with a black eyeshadow after and applying that to the lids. That was the only part that seemed to rub a little bit for me. This part was relatively quick and painless. I think the most time-consuming part for me was definitely cutting out all of the little letters at first and then taping them on and making sure that it stayed. But I'm glad that I did that because it was worth it to get the proper placement and just for the perfectionist in me getting the exact letters. This paint does extend fully from ear to ear like a face mask, so I continue to bring the paint all the way over into my hairline. Emma's makeup appears to just slightly fade out on the black on some of the edges along the top by the and then along the bottom of the future. So when I was at the end of the paint on my paintbrush, I just went over those edges a little bit to give it that kind of rough fade out effect. And then I also put on some mascara off camera. For the lips, I went in with a lip liner from NYX, just the retractable lip liner in red, and just slightly over outlined my lips, but tried to keep them similar to the shape of Emma's, which aren't too overstated. I decided to keep a simple red lip for this look. I went in with the Maybelline Vinyl in Red Hot After for the lip color, and then lip gloss from Tower 28. In one of her looks with this makeup, she has red rhinestones on the lips, so you could do that as well, but I was combining two separate looks, so I decided to just keep it simple. Now to add the iconic wig, I got this on Amazon, and then for the costume itself, I wanted to do this outfit where she had a newspaper with her name on it, coming out of a skirt with a corset because I just happened to own that in my closet. I also thought it might be a little bit more unique than the black leather, and then I took a ribbon and just painted on the chevron stripes. And that is it for the makeup. I hope you enjoyed this video, but keep watching if you want to see how I made this background. I got the idea for this from a photo that I saw of Emma Stone in front of a backdrop at a premiere that looks like it was created by an artist, but I'm not really sure the background of it. Apparently I picked the windiest day ever to try to do this. The wind was just fully trying to sabotage my work, but it was fine. I brought this over to my friend's apartment because she has an alley, and if you're thinking, why don't you just tie down the bottom? Eventually we do. We get there. It just took us a minute. So after we finally tied everything down, I spray painted on the black and the red. This is really fun because it's just like graffiti and it can be messy. I got this canvas from Home Depot. They are cheap. This man came by. I think he just wanted to be in the video, so I left him in. Give the man what he wants, why not? And then I went in with some acrylic paint. Cruella has all of these funny little taglines like Queen of Mean, Fashion Above All. The image had lots of little crowns, stars, money signs, so I just drew all of those things in. And then of course painted on the Cruella letters. I'm usually working on my projects alone, so I was very grateful to have my best friend to help me with this because the wind just kept trying to work against us despite all of our efforts to tie it all down. I did most of this with the acrylic paint. There were some finer details that I did later with Sharpie, but they didn't even show up that much in photos, so that was kind of the least of the priorities. I already owned all of the paint. The canvas was less than $10, I believe, and then I had this fun little backdrop that really elevated the look.